So in this video, I want to talk about problems or mistakes that people make when they practice. Practicing is one of those things that we sort of assume happens, like, oh, well, yeah, you'll go home and you'll work on this a little bit, but it's not like doing a worksheet of math where like once you've got that sheet done, you check your answers, you're done, and you can put it to the side and that kind of thing. You don't have to worry about it again until the next school day, or read a book, answer some questions, that kind of thing. Practicing is one of these things where you have to develop your own best habits at it. And down the road, I'm going to have lots of resources on it because this is a really important topic to me, and I'm going to be really kind of developing it much more down the road. But for now, I'm just going to talk about some of the most common mistakes that people make. And I say people, it's not even just kids. People of all ages do this. And I have to catch myself from time to time doing them too. So we're all kind of in the same boat. So the first mistake that people make is if they just don't practice enough. The idea of playing a musical instrument is that you have to be able to play it. You have to be able to perform something. And to get it to that level, you can't be, especially let's say at school here, you can't be bringing the instrument in and practicing there during your lesson, like, oh, I'll just learn it while I'm here. The point is to take it home and work on it there so that when you come back, you might, if you have questions, it's fine. If you have things that got a little bit in your way and that you can't quite figure out, that's also fine. That's why I'm your teacher and I can help you with those things. But the point is that if you don't practice at all, or if you don't do enough of it, you won't know what the things are that you need to fix, and then it's a big surprise to you when you come into your lesson and, oh, I don't know, I'm very confused. Well, that confusion, I'm sorry, should have happened at home, and then you can just, if it's something that we can address through an email or some other way, then we can do it that way. But you want to discover those things yourself so that you can sort of figure out how to solve those problems. You're practicing that. Well, the question is usually how often should I practice, and it should be every day. I mean, that's really what it should be. And my guideline is that it's much better to do it more often, but don't do it for as much. Especially in the beginning, we don't have a lot of things to work on, and it's very easy to get very tired of focusing on them. So it'd be better to do just maybe 5-10 minutes at a time, and then even that same day coming back to it, and just going through it again, and that will help you greatly. If you're using that time properly, you'll learn quite well. If you try to save it all up to the end, that just doesn't work. It's not like, oh, I need to read that book for Monday, I'll leave it till Sunday night. It's no, you have to perform at a lesson on Monday, so you need to practice every day between now and then, so that you can feel very confident about your playing. And that brings me to the second point, which is not practicing regularly enough, right? It's not just a matter of saying, okay, between this lesson and that lesson, I have to do a total of, let's say, an hour's worth of practicing, spaced out over all of those days. I'm just throwing that number out there. It could be more, could be less, depends what it is that you have to work on. You want to space it out as evenly as possible. The best day to practice is always the day of your lesson, because that's when you'll remember what you've been working on the most, right? Now, in our lessons, we tend to be very rushed as we go through them, so that's why I've made some videos to help you. But come back to them, and check yourself against what you're doing. But like I said, it's got to be done fairly regularly. There's a saying that says you should practice just on the days that you eat. It's a cute way of saying it, but yes, absolutely every day. One of the other things that is usually a problem when we practice is if we call it go through the motions. Like I'm just going to sort of play through it. I'm not really focused on it. I'm just kind of playing, and this usually happens once you're kind of sort of able to play the piece, and like I can kind of get through it, yeah, obviously it's not perfect and everything like that, but whatever. I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm going through it. That's enough, and that's never enough. I mean, because you're not really practicing. You're just kind of skimming through it. You're not really learning anything more about it, and it's almost kind of a waste of time to do it that way. It's better than nothing, but it's still not proper practicing. So don't do that. Um, the other thing too is as you're practicing, uh, we want to practice for consistency. That means being able to do things well over and over and over again. So if you play through one of the belt songs and you get through it and everything's good, well, that's great, but that's just one time, right? Because just because you get it the one time doesn't mean that you'll get it every other time. It's just, it's sort of a like, oh, I got it this one time with this one shot, and that was enough. Well, problem is when you come into your lesson, you're going to be more nervous. So you need to know it better when you're at home than when you're in front of other people to play, or when you're in the concert, and coming up in May, when you're in the concert and suddenly like there's all these people out in front of you. Now you get really nervous, and when you're nervous, you make a lot more mistakes. We all do. So we have to know the piece that much better. And sometimes, we have to be able to go kind of on autopilot a little bit. And the only way that you're going to possibly survive that, musically speaking at least, is to make sure you know it so well that if for some reason that you were a little distracted or you make a mistake, that you're just going to be able to keep going. Um, so that practicing for consistency is a very important thing. So if you do it well once, great. That's a time when you can put it to the side, but then come back to it. Come back to it before the end of the day, or even just right away is fine too. But the way that you play it when you first just try to go through it is usually about as good as it's going to be the next times. So you have to always kind of work a little bit, try to fix some problems, and then come back to them. And that's where all those practice strategies come into play. And I'll be making more videos on those as well, because those really are very, very important. In fact, they're just really good study habits. That's one of the reasons why we learn musical instrument, is because it teaches us how to study properly. Anything. You learn how to be a good musician, you can learn anything, really, when it comes down to it. There might be, some limitations like that, but just the process is there. Okay, the fifth thing, the final thing, is if you don't review the things that you've already learned. So if let's say you're on Greenbelt, you're learning Old MacDonald, and I say, well, that's great. Let's hear Jim Along Josie. And like, oh, I don't remember that. Well, can you really say that you've learned it then? I mean, you played through it, but maybe just that one time, So for us to be able to learn songs really means being able to play them again. They don't have to be perfect every single time, but we want to be able to play them again and again. Like I think about those times when I was really young, and Grandma comes over and says, "Oh, play something on your violin for me, dearie," and like, okay, and and I could play what I was working on at the time, but then also it's like, oh, play something else. Okay, what else do I play? Other things I've learned. So you need to go back and review some of those things from time to time. And as an incentive to that, consider that when your concert comes, you will be going back and playing all of those songs again. So although we don't have the chance to always review them in lessons, please do go back and don't forget how to do Scroll and Shoulders, how to do Land of the Silver Birch, and those types of songs, because you'll do them better the next time. When you get to Purple Belt, you go back to Yellow Belt, but oh, this is so much easier now. And you can do it with the bow, and it's much more fun. Like now you're coming back to it as an advanced player, so that can be part of your practicing too. It's not always about learning stuff that's new. It's about learning or relearning the older things, so reviewing the older things and just playing them better and getting better and better like that. That's how all your favorite pop stars and rock stars do it. They just keep going back and back and back, and that's why they can put on a concert for an hour at a time, and with all the songs that and they'll sound great, sound highly polished. So those are the 5 things, and again, try to incorporate them and remember them as best as you possibly can. We want to have enough practicing. We want to do it regularly. We want to be focused on it, don't just go through it mindlessly. And you want to practice for consistency. and then also just review the things that you have already learned, and then you'll have quite a good repertoire, and that means a number of pieces that you can perform for people, and you also have a really good way of learning things, which is again one of the main reasons for learning an instrument. All right, take care.